We're leaving High Island next to Tennant Harbor. It was a lovely stay. Maine Heritage Coast Trust land. We're on the rock. Man, is it clear? The water is so clear. Paddling across Seal Harbor today. Beautiful day for a paddle. We see frequent flippers of fins on the surface, schools of fish swimming below us, so I was curious, wanted an underwater look. My fish identification isn't quite up to snuff, but here they are. At this point in the trip, several weeks in, we've gotten pretty fluid at setting up and taking down camp. John generally finds a place for a dry line in the sun to hang up gear, dry out. He then fills a collapsible bucket with water from the cool 55-degree Maine waters. After drinking warm electrolyte solution all day from our Hydro Flask, a chilled Arnold Palmer or beer is much appreciated. Monroe is a 225-acre preserve with about 2 miles of hiking trails. It was acquired by the Maine Coast Heritage Trust in 2018, given by the Fonts family to ensure permanent protection of the island. One of my favorite things about the Maine Islands are the hiking trails. After a day paddling in the boat, it's great to stretch your legs and walk around exploring an island. And boy, is it incredible to explore dense forests, rocky coastline, lots of moss, really beautiful. John has had some issues with his spray skirt leaking, so he ordered a neoprene skirt, hoping that maybe the tighter fit with a better rand might help prevent water from gushing in, especially on the backside, coming in underneath the skirt. We're taking a 4-mile day trip into Rockland today, where we'll head to the post office to pick up our packages. Hopefully the new skirt will work. We're also planning on doing laundry, taking showers, getting cleaned up at the Knights Marina there. Knights Marine Service has been here in Rockland since 1967. Really neat to see beautiful boats being worked on in this working shipyard.
The other problem we had is we started with nylon skirts, look like this, because when we tried to buy neoprene ones, because of COVID, no neoprene was available. So we brought these thinking they would be good enough. Katie has one, it's worked okay for her. I have one, it did not work because as they were handmade, the dimensions of this cockpit aren't true to what the size actually is. It's narrower here, which allows more water to come in, so I was just taking in water. So, in response to that, we ordered a new skirt. We had it shipped to Rockland. We delayed our trip until we could get it. I chose to buy the one with the big heavy rand, thinking that would help with the leaking, but the problem is this is so thick, and because of this narrow gap, it's very, very awkward and hard to get on.
We were warned about the big crossing in Penobscot Bay. It's about a 6 to 7 nautical mile crossing with big shipping channel. However, we got up at sunrise, paddled across. It was like glass, only a few fishing boats.
Granite here on Hurricane Island has a very distinctive pinkish gray hue to it. It became very popular because that was used in places like the Brooklyn Bridge, the Washington Monument, Philadelphia and Chicago train stations, and even in some roads and streets in New York, Boston, Chicago, and all the way down to Havana, Cuba. Because of this pinkish hue, if you go to these places like the Washington Monument, you'll probably be able to pick out the granite right here from this little island. You would think that because the island's remote, it'd be very difficult to, and not very cost effective to get the granite off it. But back in the day, boat transport was the best way to go. So it was very cost effective, and it made for a quite industrious main in general for rock quarries. And on this little island, because of that pinkish hue, they brought in a lot of people from Sweden, Finland, Ireland, Scotland, England, and even a whole village of Italians were brought over to work in this little rock quarry, and it raised the island population to 250 people. And we walked around this little island very quickly, probably within an hour or so, and you can imagine it'd be very tight and cramped with 250 people living and working on this island. There was even a one-room schoolhouse that had 60 kids in it. You can imagine that. Only one teacher teaching all those nationalities, making $6 a week. In 1914, their last shipment was caught in heavy seas off Rockland, and it sunk in Penobscot Bay. And then a few weeks later, surprisingly, or suddenly I should say, the foreman died of typhoid, and all the workers took that as a sign, and they packed up and were out of there almost overnight. They left their homes with furnishings in it, with clothing in it, with dishes on the table, and just cleared out and left all the dwellings and all the buildings just as they were. And then a couple years later, a husband and wife moved there with their 10 kids, and they spent about 6 years dismantling every building and every structure and putting it out in the dock and selling it as fast as they could. And so today, when you go out on the island, you don't see any dwellings left from that time, really. They're all gone. All you find is some big metal pieces that were probably used in the quarry, and that's about it.
So we've been sea kayaking up the coast of Maine here, mostly using two main resources to find areas to camp. There's a system called the Marine Island Trail Association that you pay a membership fee and you can get their guidebook. There's an electronic version, which is really nice. You don't have to carry a book when you're around here. And the islands are a combination of private and publicly owned islands that have been designated for use. Most of them have no sources on it. Occasionally you'll come across a rare privy / outhouse or fire pit or picnic table, but for the most part the sites are au naturel, which is just really great. So you paddle out to an island, you bring everything you need with you. Fresh water is important. There's no fresh water supply. All your camping gear, everything you pack in, you must pack out. All human waste, all food waste, anything that comes with you must go off the island. These islands are very fragile, a lot of important wildlife habitat here, and there's not a lot of topsoil to absorb human stuff. resource. The other place we've been using is the Maine Coast Heritage Trust, which also has sites that are listed for use. Some are day use only, some can camp. Most of the sites on both of these networks are first come, first serve. Occasionally you have to call ahead. Like I said, in the northern part of Maine, more often than not, you have to call for permission from either the Forest Service or a private person who owns the island. Some of the islands have groups on them, such as Hurricane, Outward Bound, so you need to call to ask permission. But it's really been an incredible network, and it's amazing that it's just available to the public to explore. Really incredible, and they're well taken care of. We were up at 3:30 this morning for a pre-dawn paddle. Getting up in the dark is always a little bit more of a challenge, packing in the dark, making sure you don't leave anything behind, not to mention the swarms of mosquito that get you in the pre-dawn hours. But once you're on the water, it is most definitely worth the aggravation at camp. It is glass out here. It is like mercury. Absolutely stunning. John discovered Surfside Restaurant on Google Maps in Vinyl Haven. This is a restaurant that caters primarily to the fishing crowd and locals, open daily from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. only for breakfast. So that's our destination. Today we're taking a short 5-mile paddle up the coast of Vinyl Haven to a small island called Ram on the western side of Vinyl Haven. Ram is a tiny little spit of an island, not much to explore on the land, but has a really neat rock outcropping where you can sit and watch the tidal basin change. The tidal exchange is only about 8 to 9 feet in this area. However, just due to the layout of the basin, it really changes over time. We're heading to another little island on the east side of Vinyl Haven today. We'll cut through the Fox Island thoroughfare.
Don't see many trimarans up here.
The wind kicked up in the afternoon. We were paddling hard against it. Thankful to find this sheltered island on Little Hens. The wind blew all night, blew some rain over us as well, but we were tucked in these trees, sheltered by a big rock boulder. Thankful for Little Hen.